Truth about the AMC CEOs talking about 90% of the float. So this guy just said, God Pill, I can't tell you what to do, man, but I really think you should make a few AMC videos to get your YouTube following back up. These fools are killing with views, 90% float. New people don't understand. Alright, so let's check this out real quick.
Institutions like BlackRock or Vanguard, that's very popular. This itself, not including ETFs, not including 460, 90 million total shares. Information, unless there has been some form of a change here as of late, right? Let's just pull this up here. I don't know where that went. Really quick. I'll just pull it up again. AMC institutional ownership. Check this out. If you were to only take these two names, which are updated as of February 9th and February 4th, that is 47 million shares and almost 43 million. But we'll even be conservative. We'll say 42 million total shares, right? You do some basic math.
42 million shares conservative.
Plus 42, you take that over here, 47 plus 42, that comes out to a whopping 89 million total shares. Well, we're going to take 89 million out of 516 million total shares. This number coming from the total float of the stock. We're actually going to expand this right here just so I can
Okay, so he just said 89 million shares of the 5.
show you exactly where that comes from. 512 is actually here, but I don't know 516, right? We're going to be more conservative. We'll be more conservative, right? 512, you take 90% of that. I'll pull out my phone. I'll just do some basic calculations on what that looks like. 512 times 0.9, that's 460 million total shares. 460, 90%, that's the low ball, not including ETFs. 460 million shares. If you're only to take Vanguard and BlackRock from the recently reported Fintel institutional ownership, that comes out to about, we'll actually run with the 89 million total shares, right? 9 million. You add these together, 8, 4, 5. This itself, not including ETFs, not including any sort of shorts or maybe rehypothecation or perhaps hedging, perhaps failure to deliver, perhaps short exemptions, perhaps a multitude of different things that could be taking place with an AMC stock. The numbers do not make sense. Now, I know this is absolutely...
Okay, so they're telling you that the numbers do not make sense, but what they're not telling you is that every motherfucker that bought AMC, the 4 million motherfuckers that bought AMC, they all held on to at least a little bit of it. That's what they're not telling you. So what they're doing is they're inferring that because there's still 4 million investors in AMC, that nobody ever sold. And it's obviously false. From when it hit 72, a shit ton of motherfuckers sold. And now he's trying to suggest that we own 90% of the float and then subtracting 2 people to show that we don't invest, that by the institutional numbers, we don't invest. Basically, the investments are over 100% of the float. So they're saying if you take 90% of all the shares, which 90% of 513 million, which is the outstanding shares, he's saying is 400 and something million. And he's saying if you take the top 2 biggest investors and you subtract them, it already hits over 100%. But what they didn't hear was that AMC still has so the CEO said on top of whatever has to legally be invested by the mutual or by the ETFs. And so the ETFs, let's just say, are 20% of the funds. So you take away 20%, now you own 90% away from that 20%, and any way you chop it up, the data is not lying. If you just Google the AMC data, retail only owns 50% of the shares, but the way that they distinguish it, it's coming out as 90%. But the problem is that they still have 130 million shares that they can dilute at any moment. So anyone that's betting on the maximum strikes, they're never going to get paid. If you're betting on like the $30, you'll probably make like 20x on your money if you're lucky. If you time the exact week that it's supposed to expire and you bet a week before it launches, like that's what you're shooting for. But that's if you're lucky and you gotta like gamble week after week, and so you can't even bet that much. You can't win that much. While all AMC is happening, there's still MULN. Moeller Automotive Technologies. Who gives a fuck what they are? What they are is the first stock to do over 100% in a single day since DWOC, AMC, and GME. And they have a smaller market cap by 2 times the amount than GME or AMC. They got a smaller market cap. If you add up all the options purchased, you got over a 50% gamma already. So there's only 20 million shares in the entire outstanding float. Now the authorized float's 100 million. That means they can sell off 80 to 75 million shares in the future and bring it up as dilution and say that they voted on it and they win every time because they got voting shares that beat your common shares no matter what. And so they can vote on dilution whenever they want. But they're not going to dilute when the market cap is only $20 million. Because then if they dilute everything, it'll only be a maximum of $100 million. And there'd be no more shares to dilute. And they would never put themselves in that situation. So they have to let the $20 million, $25 million market cap of MULN, they have to let it go up before they start diluting. So take the money. MULN's the way to go. AMC it's a distraction. Forget about AMC for the moment. Let's make the money where they're going to put the money. And this is an example. So, I don't know if you're watching the State of the Union address tonight, but the guy could not read a script. He could not keep a common thought going. And everything was about dreams, imagine, this, that, remember. It was not like we're going to do this, this, and this, and we're going to be better. It was, if everything goes perfect, we might be able to get out of this. EV might be able to save us. I mean, he really didn't talk much on inflation. He talked about, like, taxing the rich and not raising taxes. But, like, what about everybody that said inflation was a tax? He didn't answer anything on that. And I feel like a lot of people are still worried about inflation. All I'm trying to tell you is that MULN has hit it's a signal that when you watch them, so I just recorded a small short piece on my YouTube, you can go and look at it, where Joe Biden literally announces that he is praying for the people of Iran, the Iranian people, or he's cherishing, or he's galloping, leading the force for the Iranian people. And he meant to say Ukrainian, and that's fine. Whether the script writer wrote it wrong and Joe Biden wasn't smart enough to read his script and realize it's supposed to say Ukrainian, or whether it said Ukrainian and he said Iranian because his mental retardation makes him make mistakes. And as he's in the moment, he can't handle the moment. And if the moment ever gets put on him, he's probably going to make the wrong decision because that's just in his DNA. That's Joe Biden for you. So, I don't know. I look at this, and if that's Joe Biden, that's everybody else. If you looked at them in the State of the Union, they were all partying. Like, they were so happy. It didn't matter if they were Republican or Democrat. They were all just so happy. And it just tells me, like, it was just such a sure sign that they are not ready for the moment that's coming at them. And they think that it's all good. And that they're not trying to stop the things that can hurt them. And the things that can hurt them were like GameStop and AMC. They can squeeze lifeblood out of the system by too many people buying call options. So if you buy call options on MULN, you're going to squeeze blood out of them. And it's a guaranteed squeeze from the price that it's at now, so you have to. You should. I mean, it's stupid not to. But it's the proof that they're not watching. Like, they shouldn't be letting this happen. There's an easy way for them to stop this, okay? So they got 75 million more shares that they can dilute right now. There's 25 million in the marketplace. All they have to do is let this price, or have never let it drop from $10, right? Because at $10... every share is now worth $10, right? Instead of every share being worth $1 where it's at right now. And so, what that means is they have $200 million market cap of shares that they can sell. And whether it's insider selling, whether it's CEO selling, whether it's dilution, all of it stops retail from buying the total amount of the stocks. And so the fact that there's already 55% gamma on this stock. And I mean, that'll depend on how much of the volume from today turns into open interest tomorrow. But I'm going to assume most people bought today and that there wasn't a lot of cashing out. And there definitely wasn't a lot of day trading because it just crashed 40% and just hasn't moved up. So there wasn't people buying and selling like a couple times that we've seen in the past. And so with the open interest gaining so much, the volume increasing so much, I expect it mostly to go to the open interest. Very few sellers. And I think we're going to see a 300 to 500x on the MULN. But I just look around and it's so obvious that they just don't know how to cover up what they're doing with the stock market. And like they just let the stock market kind of do its thing until a problem arises. And that's how GME and AMC happened. Like, they should have never happened, but they don't understand what the real problem is. And the problem is the option chains combined with the stock price and then the retail voters. And the voters are saying, like, let's bet a shit ton of money when it's the right time. And a lot of times they're wrong, but sometimes they're right. And when they're right, it creates a problem because the stock price is so cheap that it has to go up so high that they can finally dilute and make people lose, that they feel like they've lost the chance to beat this thing. But it's got to go up so high right now for this one in order for them to stop it. Because they don't have enough shares and it's not a high enough value for a share for it to stop. And so buy your options. I mean, just like they do every other time when they realize there's a problem, they create the story around it, and then they beat it down, they let it go up, they beat it down, they let it go up. And we're just gonna watch when it's happening, and we're gonna make money on it every fucking step of the way. I'll show you how to do it. If you go to my community page, you can get to my Discord. Like, just watch them. They're incompetent. They aren't even good at faking that they're smart. They're fucking retarded. And they're all actors that just read scripts that some other fucking nerd in a fucking closet wrote up for them. Like, look at how they fucking talk to each other. They're fucking beta as fuck. There is no person that's controlling this. It's all a bunch of fucking retards just fucking partying that they have the power. And I feel like I'm onto them, motherfuckers. I feel like it's all what it looks to be. And so they look as retarded as they are because they are retarded. And instead, that's why it's always like counter opposition to, instead of them stepping in front of problems, they always just answer the problems or brush the problems off after they arise. But the problems always arise because they're fucking retarded. I don't know how else to say that. They're fucking retarded.